Hey guys, what's going on? It's Mark with Spiguyver Backpack, and thanks for joining me today. So I'm out here today, got the hammock set up, lounging around a little bit, kind of enjoying this nice 73 degree cooler weather. Beautiful out right now. But I wanted to come out here and talk about some new gear, some new equipment, and some new applications we're doing with it. So I've got some suspension up that we're going to talk about tonight. You guys know I like gear that's innovative, like the hang time hook, or different components that have gone on to some of the different hammocks that are out there, or just new hammock designs that meet a need. When there's a new piece of equipment that meets a need, that simplifies life on the trail, that's what I'm interested in, because ultimately Spiguyver Backpacking is all about getting out, hitting the trail, having fun, and it's less about tinkering with your setup and getting things just right as it is enjoying the time out on the trail, at camp, with whoever you're with. So let's take a look at what we've got today. Let's go. Alright, so right here in front of me, you can see the suspension that I've been using for the last couple of trips with the different hammocks that I've got. Today it happened to be with the Chameleon, last time it was with the Dream Hammock Raven that I got. But what this is a 1-inch webbing that I got from Myers Tech Hammock Lab. You guys can check them out. Cool company, really innovative, trying to come up with designs and ways to do suspension where you're not dealing with any hardware. And that's what we've got here. So I've got a knot system that kind of replaces a carabiner or having to go through the loop. You can still do it. You can still go through the loop. You can still use a carabiner, but this system allows you not to have to do that. This stuff is super, super lightweight, super strong, and unlike the Venom webbing that I had been using, it does not keep the creases and keep the wrinkle. When I was using the Venom stuff, after I did my Becket hitch knot, this would get to the point where I couldn't even stretch it back out to be an inch. So if I was to put it around a tree, it wasn't going to measure a full inch. It was like, you know, a third of that, a half of that maybe. But this stuff has resisted that crinkle, crumple a little bit better. Super lightweight at 4 grams per foot. So something you can get out there and take along with you. And I will put the weight of this system right down here so you guys can check it out. Pretty lightweight. So it's got this little carabiner replacement up here, but it's also got this little piece right here that we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about. And what this is, so Short Round recently did a video. Bonefire has their stuff out there. But I've been experimenting with and playing around with and talking with Jeff Myers at Myers Tech Hammock Lab about coming up with a solution to hang both my hammock and my tarp from the same suspension, and that's what this is for. So let's go ahead and hook up the tarp, show you guys how that works, and we'll get this thing done. Alright, so I've got my tarp right here in my hands, and really what we're looking at is this part right here. So you have a continuous loop with a toggle, just a little plastic toggle on there, along with another smaller continuous loop that's kind of run through underneath the Prusik. So the way you do it is you lay the continuous loop here and it droops down, and then you do the Prusik around both the webbing and that loop, and we've got that integrated toggle on there. So you just position it so that toggle's at the end, and because the toggle will move on there, it's easy to get that thing set up right. So I've got my tarp, and on the end of my tarp I have a set of rings. So these 2 rings here, or there's the grow gain loop, either one of them could be used. I also have a small piece of continuous loop with a knot on the end of it. And what you can do with that knot is wrap it around something, go back through the 2 pieces, and then the tension will actually keep it locked. So that's something else you could use. We're not going to be using that. We're actually going to be using the 2 rings. And the way that it works is you take this toggle and slide it all the way through both of those loops, and then it will tension it right there. Because of the Prusik, it locks it on to this webbing really, really well. And I've done 5 loops on that Prusik. So it locks it down nice and tight. I can't move it. But then if I take this little loop, I can slide it along this line anywhere I want because it's below the Prusik. So this pull-in action, you're not gonna move it. But if you just use this, just a little bit of tension, I can move it either direction, no problem. So let's get this thing strung completely up and take a look at me adjusting it and getting it set. Okay, right now you can see there's a definite sag in this tarp ridgeline. So the ridgeline, I can feel it, it's right here, but it's definitely sagging, so I need to adjust it. I don't have much room on this side. The trees that I picked, with this being a 12-foot hammock, are probably not much more than 12 feet apart, so I'm gonna have to be a little bit creative. Let's go to this side. I'm gonna grab that loop. I'm gonna hold this line and just pull till I get it pretty tight. Now, when I stake it out, that's going to take care of the rest of that, so let's get that going. So there we have it. The tarp is set up on the same suspension as the hammock. But let's see what happens to the ridgeline. Does it sag? Does it get too tight if I get into the hammock? So I'm gonna go get in the hammock right now and we'll check it out. So as you can see, it did pull down a little bit, but it didn't sag. And one of the things that keeps that working really well is that I use elastic shock cord on my pullouts. So let's take a close look at what I'm using there. Okay, so here is the corner of my tarp. And again, I've got the rings on here just like I do on the ridgeline. But then to that, I have this shock corded tarp worm. So this is a Dutch wear gear tarp worm that's down here. And then I've got a thin microcord line that goes to my 10 stakes, which are MSR groundhogs. And so the way that it works is to adjust it, you just slide it through the hole on this tarp worm, tension it so that there's a pretty good amount of tension on here. Because the tarp ridgeline does go down, I don't know, maybe a ½ inch to an inch, you want enough tension on here that it's going to pull that back in. So what I do is I pull it pretty tight, kind of pinch it off, you make a loop in the line, go over the tarp worm, and then it now snugs itself up. And to strike it, it's as simple as pulling, and now you could make more adjustments. If you get in, maybe you weight it with your backpack to see exactly if there's going to be any sag at all. Come out, make another adjustment. Real quick adjustment there, and now it's set and ready to go. So right now I have this thing fully staked out with 6 stakes. I've got 4 on the tarp, 2 on the hammock. Now first of all, you do not need any pullouts on the hammock at all. You can lay in it without it. It does keep the netting or the overcover off of your face a little bit better if you stake it out. You don't need to bring 2 extra stakes with you. You can stake it out to the same stakes that you have already set out for your tarp. So right now I'm a little bit of overkill. I just didn't want to have to mess around with the setup that I already had, and I wanted to show that these things can work independently of each other. You can have the hammock set up, you can have the tarp set up, you can have both set up, all with the same suspension, which is what we're doing here. Let's just go ahead and take a quick look at that suspension close up. Here we have the connection point, and this is that continuous loop with the knot. You can see the size of that knot in there, and what it does is it allows you to run it around the webbing strap and then around the knot, and it holds it nice and secure. Now if you want to go even more secure, what I do is I actually go around the webbing strap back behind and then around the knot. So it's actually forming more of a cinch around the knot, because it goes, here you can see, this will focus for me, it goes through here, down, and then around the knot. So that's how I use it. It goes through the loop on this tree strap over here. So you can just run it around the tree, loop it around the webbing strap, lock it off, and then run it down to your stuff. So why am I using this and not just running this webbing strap through this loop and back down? Well, it's really, for anyone who's used anything like this system or a carabiner, it's just ease of use. It is so much easier to disconnect this. Say I had to move this up higher, up above this branch. If I ran this through here, I would have to pull all 15 feet of the webbing strap back through, then put it up above and run it back through. With this system, I can simply disconnect this, move it up, and reconnect it. Much, much easier. So there is the carabiner replacement right there. Okay, so here's a good look at how you can hang this from a tree. So you just find your tree, you go around the tree. Now, normally, I might want to put this through this loop and run the whole thing through. That's what I was doing with my Kevlar straps. But with this one, I've got this loop with the knot on it that really acts as a carabiner. So you can do it two ways. One is just to go around the webbing strap and then put it around the knot, and that will keep it tight. Now, if you have any concerns with this not holding or slipping, which once this is weighted, there's really not much of a concern there, because any of the force coming this way translates around, pulls it, and keeps it around that knot really, really well. But if you are concerned, and this is actually the way that I do it, so I take this loop, I go through the line so that it's like that, and then over the knot, and now when you pull it tight, it is going through and around, so really putting a lot of snug around that knot and keeping it secure. Not gonna fall this way. So from there, you come down and you have this piece right here. So as you can see, it is a continuous loop that's Prusik right here with a toggle, a plastic toggle, and then this continuous loop, which is the adjustment pole. This actually is a very, very handy piece, because moving a Prusik by hand, trying to slide it up and down when it's locked on, can be a real pain. So this makes it real easy to adjust it both up and down, no problem at all. Now you can see that the angle of this webbing strap actually changes a little bit right here, and that's what, when you notice, when you get into the hammock and it pulls it down, it actually tightens the ridgeline a little bit, but pulls it down, which is why those elastic shock cords are great right there. But if we follow this webbing strap, the suspension, down, we'll come to how it's attached to the hammock, which is my standard Becket hitch. So this is what I use all the time. Very easy to tie, very easy to strike, very effective, and as some of the research done by Derek Hansen, this is the only proven effective water brake suspension type. So whether you're using a carabiner or something else, this is more effective as a water brake. And then I normally take and make a second knot halfway down my continuous loop, which acts as a second water brake in case water does get by this one. So if you're wondering if you could set it up and then just kind of drape the tarp over so that it's ready, or just leave it up in its snake skin and just be ready, you've already got the stakes out, whatever, absolutely you can. And here I'll get back into the hammock so you can see the hammock move and the tarp. The ridgeline is right here. I've just got it draped right over the ridgeline, so you guys can see how much it moves in relation to each other. I'll zip this open, sit down in here. You can see when I sit down, it pulls it out a little bit on each side, which actually tightens the ridgeline, but because it's coming down a little bit, you need that elastic, the shock cord, to pull it taut. So I'll just get in lay down. You can see no real change to the way that the tarp lays when someone is in the hammock. Works out really, really well. So there you guys go. New suspension system, Myers Tech Hammock Lab. Go ahead and contact them. Let them know that you want the same suspension setup that Spiguyver's got. You want to do a Becket hitch system on the blue lightweight webbing with the carabiner replacement and the Prusik loops for your tarp setup. That way you can do one suspension system. Guys, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, I am all about things that simplify life on the trail. This means set up one piece around the tree. It's all there. You just have to make sure you've got enough room. You'd have to make sure you have enough room for your tarp, regardless of if you were going with this system or any other system. This one actually makes it a little bit easier because I can go all the way up to the tree with these Prusik loops, whereas if I'm using some sort of hardware, I've got to have enough room to cinch it down around the tree, and that takes up a little bit of room. I'm getting bit by some mosquitoes out here, so I hope you guys got something out of this. If there's any questions, any comments, leave them down below. I will absolutely answer every one of them. This system is one I'm going to be testing out on the trail quite a bit. I've used it once, not on a trail, but on a short little lay in the hammock. Using it again today, just kind of testing it out. But I am going to get it out on the trail, testing it out next time I head out. I thank you guys for checking it out. I'm going to get this stuff put away, and I'll see you guys down the trail.